All right, great. So, those of you that are here today, thank you for joining me. I know you're busy. I know you've got lots of things to do. I know you're probably all running businesses, so it's tough to carve time out of your schedule. I realize you could be spending your time in a multitude of different ways, but you choose to be here, so thank you. My name is James Wisdom. I'm a professional EOS implementer. I've helped dozens of leaders of growing companies get more of what they want from their businesses. Now, today, I'm going to help you get the right people in the right seats for your organization. You have to have both. Now, very simply, you can't achieve a great vision without great people. And the truth is, every organization defines great people differently. Now, this is a simple but ambitious goal to get done in the next hour, but we won't be successful. You won't be successful in spending this hour with me if you don't partner with me. I really need you to engage and actively participate in the work we're going to do together today. If you're struggling to get the right people in the right seats in your organization, the next hour will change the destiny of your business and your life for the better, but only if you participate. Are you with me? Come on, people. Are you with me? I want to see some nodding heads. Are you with me?
Absolutely.
Oh my
Awesome.
goodness.
Great. Did I just hear, oh my goodness?
Well, their currency is not in the greatest shape, is it? I don't think
Hey,
now.
John, would you mind muting while you're on? Okay. So in the first part of this webinar today, you don't have to turn off your camera, John, but do mute yourself. Thank you. Good to see you, John, by the way. In the first section of this, I'm going to provide some context, right? What's the background? What's the underpinning in getting right people in the right seats? Why does this matter? Why does it work? In this second part, I'm going to show you the specific tools to help you get the right people in the right seats for your business. And in the third part, I'm going to field any questions at the end. If you have any questions along the way, feel free to throw them in the chat. And our trusty facilitator, Chris, will find the right time to put those in. And there's going to be a couple of sections where I'm going to just take a pause. I'm going to say, hey, does anybody have any questions? I'm going to be asking you to do some stuff. And people might say, I don't get it, James. That's okay. I've set a little bit of time aside to answer questions at that moment. Now, quick etiquette note. Unless you're volunteering, and volunteers will be needed, please keep yourself on mute unless you're speaking. I do want to hear what you have to say, but no one wants to listen to your barking dog, crying baby, or your beloved cockatoo in the background of this call, no matter how wonderful and adorable they are. Okay, so thank you for helping make this call great for everybody. Is everybody ready?
Yes.
All right. I see thumbs. Great. Now, I help a lot of entrepreneurial companies, is what I do. I've noticed recently that most of the companies I'm talking to, my clients, my prospects, and friends are having trouble scaling and growing, and that leaders of these companies are frustrated. They're hitting the ceiling. And they talk to me about how in the first couple of years of their business, it was almost too easy. Then suddenly they hit a ceiling. They get stuck and they just can't figure out a way to break through that ceiling. That's normal. That's commonplace. I personally have been there with my own businesses, and I've certainly been there a lot with my clients. Now, I believe that I can help with that frustration a little bit with this session. Now, what we're going to be doing is using the people tools and disciplines of EOS, or the Entrepreneurial Operating System model, to help you get the right people in the right seats in your organization. Now, truth be told, we only have an hour, right? So I'm going to cover the essentials with you today to get you moving in the right direction, and I'm going to offer myself up for questions after the session. So our purpose today is to help you get the right people in the right seats in your unique organization. How's that sound? Good? All right. Now, for anyone who just joined in the last few minutes, please quickly jot down the answer to the question. What are your core values? Who are you and your people? Just write down 3 things that define who you and your organization are, your core values, the culture you're trying to build. We're going to use that a little later. Next up, we're going to do some context, a little bit about EOS and a little bit about me, so you know I'm not just here practicing on you. Now, as an EOS implementer, I help people get what they want from their businesses by providing a complete system of simple, proven tools to help do 3 things that we call vision, traction, and healthy. Vision just means getting everyone on the same page with where their business is going and how it's going to get there. Traction just means instilling discipline and accountability within the business and throughout the organization so that no matter where you go, everyone is executing on that vision day in and day out. And healthy just means making the teams I work with more healthy, functional, cohesive, open, and honest, because sometimes they're not. Now, from there, what we find is as goes the leadership team, so goes the rest of the organization. And ultimately, they get to a point where everybody in the organization is 100% on the same page with where they're going, executing on that vision day in and day out with real discipline and real accountability, and working together as a healthy, functional, cohesive bunch of people who actually enjoy spending their time together. Now, everything I'm going to share with you today was created by a lifelong entrepreneur by the name of Gino Wickman. This isn't something that I just invented out of thin air. There's over 200,000 companies globally running on EOS tools, just a set of simple, real-world, practical tools, timeless concepts that have been around for 100 years and are going to be around for 1,000 more. Last year, companies running on EOS grew at an average rate of 34.4% year-over-year revenue. That's the average. It's not bad, not too shabby, and we're very proud of that. EOS, or the Entrepreneurial Operating System, isn't software. It's a management operating system that maximizes human energy, delivering better results for businesses and more fulfilling lives for the people who run them. That's the experience that I had. Now, you're not going to find any pixie dust, any magic pills, or silver bullets in EOS. These are just real-world practical tools. Now, the kinds of organizations I work with are entrepreneurial. They generally, not always, but generally, have between 10 and 250 employees. Their owners and leaders are growth-oriented and open-minded. They're willing to be open and honest and vulnerable with themselves and the people around them. And they're more afraid of the status quo than they are of change. They want change. They're ready for change. They're ready to grow and prosper. So that's about EOS. Now, a little bit about me and my background, my story. I grew up in an entrepreneurial household, watching my mom grow a thriving financial business out of 1,000 cold calls on our plaid living room couch. She's my inspiration. I went to school and I found myself leading marketing teams for big, iconic global organizations like Aflac and QVC and Randstad. And I loved making great marketing for those organizations. I loved unlocking the potential of the teams around me, but I didn't so much love working for the big bureaucracies. So I decided to be a smart guy about 7 years ago and start my own agency. I said, I'm going to work with smaller, more entrepreneurial companies that won't have these big bureaucratic problems. And surprise, surprise, my clients had, in many cases, the exact same problems, or they had worse problems. But the real surprise was that about a year and a half into my own business, I started having those same problems, which was pretty painful because I'd always been a fixer in corporate, somebody that you could call in for a deadline that everybody thought was impossible, or a team wasn't working well together, or if there was a dumpster fire that needed cleaning up, I was a guy to do that, to handle that. But I couldn't be objective with my own problems. So I went into my network and asked around, and two different people that I knew and cared about, different people that didn't know each other, said to me, oh, you should check out EOS and Traction. I said, okay. I checked it out. I put it in place in my business. I tripled revenues over the next 3 years, which was awesome. But what was more awesome is I got my personal life back and I felt like I was alive again. And what I discovered along the way, midlife epiphany, not a crisis because there wasn't a sports car involved, but I discovered that what really got me excited, what really floated my boat, was unlocking the potential of people around me. When I looked back in my career and all the people whose lives I touched for the better, I realized that's what I was about. So I decided to become an EOS implementer. And that's what brings me, frankly, here to you today. I want to help. And I'm helping with this session, and I hope that you get value out of it. Now, next up is the tools. I'm going to provide some context for the people tools that we're going to work on today so you understand how they fit into a larger concept. Now, the best way to illustrate that is with a model that has your business at the center of it. Now, this model stems from a discovery that all entrepreneurs, all entrepreneurial leaders tend to wrestle with about 136 issues simultaneously. Maybe you guys feel that, right? I certainly feel it and have felt it. Now, the discovery tells us to the extent that you can strengthen the 6 key components of your business, those issues just tend to fall into place because they're simply symptoms of the real root cause. And so when I'm talking about the journey, it's a journey to strengthen the 6 key components of your business. Now, I'm going to share those with you very quickly. Buckle up. Here we go. Now, the first key component of your business, of any business, is the vision component, right? This is getting everyone in your business 100% on the same page with where you're going and how you plan to get there, as I mentioned earlier. Now, each of these 6 key components have 2 tools and disciplines within EOS to help you understand how we strengthen the vision component and all 6 of the other components. But we're just going to focus on people today, and I'm not going to go into the individual tools and disciplines. This is just to provide you some context. Now, that brings us to the second component, the people component. This is the one that we're going to focus on today. Now, very simply, you cannot achieve a great vision without great people. Now, the truth is, every organization defines great people differently. Today, we're going to start getting to the heart of what makes for great people in your organization. The third key component is the data component. Now, this is just running your business on facts, figures, and objective data rather than feelings, egos, subjective emotions, my aunt's gut feeling, whatever, that often drive decision-making in entrepreneurial companies. Now, what happens and what we've discovered is that when you strengthen the vision, people, and data components in your organizations, everything becomes transparent and crystal clear. All the impurities, imperfections, problems, challenges, and obstacles just jump right out at you, but also ideas and opportunities that you're going to want to take advantage of. Now, that leads us to the fourth key component. We call those issues. Now, strengthening the issues component is just getting really good at solving your problems as they arise. You can't achieve success if you're not great at setting up your problems as they happen and knocking them down and making them go away forever. The fifth key component is the process component. Strengthening the process component is just getting all of the most important stuff in your business done the right and best way every time. It creates consistency and scalability in your business, makes it easier to manage, more profitable, and more fun. Maybe I'm crazy, but I think process is sexy. The sixth key component is traction. Traction is about bringing your vision down to the ground and executing on that vision day in and day out. There's no coincidence that vision's at the top of the model and traction's at the bottom, right? If you can't bring your vision down to the ground and execute on it well, vision without traction is hallucination. Now, in the future, we can absolutely talk about the 2 tools or disciplines we use to strengthen the traction component and all the other components, but we don't have time for that today. We're focused on the people component. Those are the 6 key components. The 6 key components make up the EOS model, and EOS stands for the Entrepreneurial Operating System. EOS is a way of harmonizing and orchestrating all the moving parts of your business to help you run a better business and live a better life. That's it. That's what we do. Okay, now we're going to dive right into getting the right people in the right seats. Everybody ready? Give me some nods and some thumbs. Give me some feedback. Awesome. Thank you. Now, you're probably familiar with the term core values. Core values are just an essential set of guiding characteristics that define who you are at the core and what you want from the culture of your organization. Now, when I work with my clients, I take them through a discovery exercise to help them discover the true core values of their unique organizations. So, a question for you, for everybody on this call, what are your core values right now? Some of you know them and may have already written them down when I asked earlier, but some don't, and that's okay. So what I want you to do is I want you to commit pen to paper. For those of you that know, I want you to write down your 3 to 7 core values. Please, never more than 7. Ideally, 3 to 5 seems to be about ideal. Wait, ideal seems ideal. Seems to be about the average I see with my clients. If you know them, write them down. Now, for those that don't, I just want to talk to you for 30 seconds, and I want to help you commit to something to bring this to life for you. Core values define who you are as a people. It defines your culture. It's what you reek of, for lack of a better way of saying it, because you're unique. If there are 20 organizations in this webinar, it looks like there's maybe 30, I can't tell. There are literally 20 different sets of core values. Every one of my clients has a different set of core values. No organization is the same. That's why it's vital for those that aren't sure today to commit to something, your core values. Now, they typically stem from the leader. And I want to try to bring this to life for you today, even if you aren't 100% sure. If you're not sure, just take a look at this slide, okay? I just want you to pick 3 that resonate with you. That if you had 30 people in your organization, 30 people that exhibited these core values, you would take over the world, or whatever world it is that you want to take over. So I need you to just pick 3, because we're going to bring them to life in just a little bit in the next section. We're going to bring these to life. So you have to have your core values written down. You got to have something written down, at least 3 core values, in order for the rest of the program to make any sense. We're going to bring them to life in a bit here. I'm just going to give everybody a minute to look at this list, think it over, and write down at least 3 core values for you and your organization. It's absolutely vital. If you're not 100% sure, just try them on. And as you're coming into the home stretch on these, once these core values are clear, your job as a leader is to hire every single person in your organization based on around these core values, and fire based on those core values. Reward, review, recognize your people around these core values, and build and protect a culture, because a business is a group of people first. Somebody that doesn't have your core values doesn't make them right, wrong, good, or bad, right? You being clear and firm with your core values doesn't make you wrong, right, wrong, good, or bad. It just makes you self-aware and effective as a business leader. If you're going to be at this business for the next 5, 10, 20 years, why not surround yourself with a bunch of people that share your core values, so that it fits like a glove and you're all running together in the same race? So has everybody written down their core values? I'm going to give you a moment to put the finishing touches on it before I ask for volunteers. This is the volunteering part that I mentioned at the beginning. I'm going to give you 1 minute here. Where's my timer? All right. All right, 30 seconds for the finishing touches. At least 3, no more than 5 core values for your organization, for the culture you want to create around you. All right. Who's ready to share their core values? Volunteers. I want to hear from someone who just came up with their core values, or someone that already knows them ahead of time. I want you to put those out in the universe and say it out loud. So who will please humor me and help this group and just share what we can hear, what your core values feel like?
I have a couple.
All right, go, Justin. Thank you.
So my core values would be communication, accountability, and respectable.
Nice. Like respect and concern for one another? Is that,
Yep.
and for the
Yeah,
customer,
respect
perhaps?
and concern.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. That's great. Any other volunteers with their core values?
Sure.
Michael Brown. Wait, I see Michael Brown. I'm sorry, Jose. We'll come to you next. Michael, go ahead.
Okay.
So I actually have them posted up here on the wall, but I wrote down 3 of the 8, so I'm 1 over what you recommended. But
No
reliable,
problem.
accountable, and having a sense of urgency.
Good, good,
are
good.
ours.
Thank you, Michael. Awesome. Now, why did you pick those 3 from the 8?
Because I kind of think those are the ones that resonate with me the most. I mean, I'm actually in the process of hiring, and those are the ones that I kind of stress with people. So sorry about that. But
No, it's okay. You know what, Michael, what you just said about your hiring around those core values, good job. Really focus on that, right? Because if those core values are what's important to you, and you want people in your organization that match those core values, it's better for you to be upfront about that during your hiring process and find a match for those core values, as opposed to bringing somebody in that doesn't match those core values and figuring it out 30, 60, 90 days, or God forbid, a year later, where you realize they're just not a match and you got to get rid of them. So you're doing the right thing. You're on the right track. Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, that's how they got developed.
Perfect. Perfect.
Figuring out the hard way.
Jose, you had your hand up, I think.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, James. For me, I have several of them, but I guess my top three would be integrity, which is when people show up complete, right? With, emotionally, spiritually, work. They're not missing a part or something, somebody that we can build. A second one that I like, it's to have a growth mindset. So we're always growing, we're always adapting, and we're always, trying to be better than what we were yesterday, to sum it up.
Perfect. Good.
And communication, because, nothing happens in a team if the proper principle of communication is not in place. For me, those are the three top values.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you, Jose. Those are great. Those are great. Jennifer, did I see you with your hand raised? Jennifer Sachs?
I did. I had them raised.
Okay.
I'll share mine. We actually created all the first letters so that it felt out our heart values, is what we call them. So honesty, excellence, positive attitude, results, and trustworthiness. And then we define them out.
Awesome. Awesome. That's a great example. Bob, I saw you doing a thumbs up. Was that saying that you want to participate, or was that just that you agreed with Jose?
No, I'd like to participate. The first one I would say, and is not on the list, is transparency.
Yes.
The others is a commitment to self-improvement, respect, creativity, and encouraging individual initiatives.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Bob. And thank you to everybody who volunteered. This is perfect. You're helping everybody out. You're helping everybody in this group understand what core values are for themselves. And some of you might hear some of these and think, those are stupid. And that's okay, because that means you shouldn't be working there. That's okay, right? If somebody else's core values don't feel right to you, then you don't belong in that business. And that's why we're doing this, is we're trying to figure out who does belong in your business, who does belong in your organization, right? Because there's only, maybe there's 10% of the people out in the world with your core values, a perfect match for you. But until you know what those core values are, you're never going to be able to find them, and you're never going to be able to match with them because you don't really know what they are. So taking this first step today, writing them down, making them real, putting them out in the universe, and as Michael's doing, hiring against those core values is the first step toward getting the right people in your organization and really building a powerful, powerful business. Okay, now, next thing we're going to do. Remember in the emails and earlier in the meeting, I might have mentioned to download and print the People Analyzer page, which is the next section. We're going to bring this to life now. So if you've got it printed, great, take it out. If you don't, that's okay. Just freehand what you're seeing in front of you right now. So just take a minute. If you've got to shuffle some papers, get it out. Or if you've got a notepad, just sketch this out. 4 rows, and then those lines at the top, there should be 8 of them. Go ahead and sketch that out. Okay, guys? Now, I hope to motivate you to make some really important decisions around your people today, because if you ever want to reach your goals, it's going to require that you're surrounded by great people. So when we say right people, the first tool I'm going to introduce you to under this umbrella is called the People Analyzer. Now, first of all, across the top of the People Analyzer, where you see these angled lines, I'm going to ask you to please write the core values that you just came up with. I need you to put your core values in there at the top, just like this example, okay? While we're doing that, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our core values, because at EOS Worldwide, we have 5 core values: humbly confident, grow or die, help first, do the right thing, and do what you say. Most of you might not care about those core values, but they matter to me, and they're important to the EOS organization. And that's okay, right? It's right for us. I'm right for EOS. EOS is right for me. And I know that because I live those core values. So go ahead and write yours down. And again, for those of you that are just trying this on, I want you to just come up with 3. 3 is fine. I want you to try those 3 on. And once you've written them across the top, what I need you to do in the left-hand column is I need you to write down 3 names. And please follow my lead because it's going to be very impactful for this to work. So I need you to write 3 names. The first name is your name. So write your name in that first row. I need you to write your name first. And then I need you to write the name of your best employee and the name of your worst employee. So if you have 10 people, I need you to write the number 1 best and the number 10 worst. I need your best and your worst. If you're writing your own name as the worst, there might be a problem. Okay? So please don't do that. Or you need to be on a different webinar. So your name should be first, your best employee's name should be second, and your worst employee's name should be third. Okay, if all your people are great, and sometimes that happens, congratulations to you. If all your people are great, write down the worst of the best for your third one. Okay, now you should have the core values across the top and the 3 names in the first column. Okay, now here's how this works. Here's the next step. Here's the fun next step. For each of your people and yourself, you're going to give 1 of 3 ratings. And again, please don't start writing yet. I'm going to explain this. You're going to give everybody a plus minus, or a minus. Now, plus means that that person exhibits that core value most of the time. Now, nobody's perfect. This isn't 100%, but most of the time they exhibit that core value. Plus minus means that they exhibit it. Sometimes they exhibit it, sometimes they don't. They're kind of hot or cold, up and down. Plus minus means sometimes they exhibit it, sometimes they don't. And minus means most of the time they do not exhibit that core value. So let me give you an example. Sally Jones, right? She's humbly confident. She's an absolute plus. She always knows her stuff. She's confident yet humble. No ego, no arrogance. She's grow or die. She's always reaching, stretching, growing, learning, always helping first, and knows that she deserves nothing in return till she's provided value in the world. Always does the right thing, high integrity, always does what she says. Now, John, not so much. Sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. He's on the fence, right? So this is just an example. Go ahead and start filling yours out right now. Remember, plus they exhibit most of the time, plus minus, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, and minus, most of the time they don't. Please go ahead and fill yours out. I'll give you a quiet minute to go through that process. And this is an opportunity where if you do have a question, go ahead and ask it real quick. Okay, 30 more seconds. I know I said 2 minutes, but I decided to change it to 1 because I think you guys can do it. All right, you should be just about done. If you're not, if you're struggling with this, if you're overthinking it, you're probably not going with your gut, and your gut knows. Trust your gut. Put the truth down, including on yourself, because if you aren't all pluses in the core culture that you're trying to define, it means that those might not really be the core values of your organization. You should question that core value. If you can't exhibit that core value most of the time, you probably shouldn't have it as a guiding core value for your organization, right? Go with your gut. Okay, everybody? You should be done now. Now, the people analyzer means nothing until we set what we call the bar. Okay, so you see the bar at the very bottom of the page. The bar is the minimum acceptable standard in your organization for someone to be the right person. For companies with 5 core values, the EOS recommendation for the bar would be 3 pluses, 2 plus minuses, any combination of those. So you can figure out how you want to sort those however you want, whatever feels right for you. So long as there's 3 core values are a plus and 2 of those core values are a plus minus, roughly, right? So if we've got 5, we do 3 and 2. If we've got 4, maybe we do 2 and 2. It's really up to you to decide, right? Because what you're going to be doing is you're setting the bar. And if they meet that expectation, they're a right person. That or better, we've got one, right? You found somebody that's a great match for your organization. Great news, right? Anything below the bar, they're probably a wrong person. Now, if you want, you can certainly raise your bar. You could decide with your leadership team, the folks that are most important to your business, you raise your bar, right? This is just our recommendation, a little over 50% pluses. Now, it's a great rule of thumb for you. And if you and your team meet that bar, you've probably got the right core values. If you and the best people in your organization meet the bar, you've probably got a right set of core values. If you're struggling to meet that bar, you might want to relook at the core values themselves. Now, minuses are not an option for the bar. That means it's not the right core value for you. If you don't meet the bar, it's not the right core value. Okay? Now, if you do this people analyzer and discover, and you do it on your whole team, right? You can certainly do that and discover a few people below the bar. That does not mean you run out and fire them. It doesn't mean you run out and get rid of them. What I need you to do is say, as their manager, how have I failed them? What have I not done? Have I given them every opportunity to succeed? Have I given them the coaching they need, the time they need, right? And assuming you've done that, then and only then you kick in what we call the 3-strike rule. The 3-strike rule works like this. You sit down with them, you share with them what the bar is, you share with them how you rated them, you let them know that they're below the bar, and you need them at or above the bar, and they've got 30 days. Now, at the link, there's going to be a link at the end of this webinar. There's more information about the 3-strike rule. Please check it out if you want to learn more about how that works, but that's the general guideline, okay? You go through 3 30-day cycles with your folks where you're trying to get them to the bar, and if they don't reach the bar, it's time to talk about an exit. But the reality is that most employees, by the time you get to the 3rd cycle of the 30-day 3-strike rule, they have wound up leaving on their own because they know they're not a core culture fit for your organization. Now we're going to go to the other side of the right people. Now we're going to talk about right seats and put this all together. Now, right seats are people who are good at their job. They're great at their job. They're the people with the God-given talent, skills, experience, ability, and desire to be great at their job. Now, the tool we use to help you get right seats is something that we call an accountability chart. The way this works is we get together, we take a big step back, and we work together to identify the right structure for your organization. A great big step, right? We're trying to look at your organization as if we're not part of it. Now, the accountability chart is based on the fundamental belief that every organization has 3 traditional major functions. Every organization has a marketing and sales function where they go out in the marketplace, create demand, and turn that demand into orders. Every organization has an operations function where they build a product, deliver a service, or both. Every organization has a finance function where they track money flowing into and out of the organization, deal with financial controls, acquire and manage assets. You know the drill. Or really, really simply, every organization has 3 functions: get work, do work, and get paid. Right? Now, we are going to ultimately tailor the major functions of your unique organization to your unique needs. We then move to the organization that that every great organization has 2 additional major functions that we call the integrator and the visionary. The integrator is the person who beats the drum in the organization, the glue that holds everything together, the person who drives accountability and harmoniously integrates the way the leadership team members play together to achieve a common vision. The visionary is the big idea person. They love staying at 30,000 feet. They come to every meeting with 20 ideas. They're creative problem solvers. They hate getting in the trenches, but they love managing big relationships. They don't love tough conversations. That's work best done by integrators. Now, what we've seen at EOS with the thousands of organizations that we work with is that when these 2 roles are in sync, it creates rocket fuel for organizations and they become a dynamic duo. Now, once you understand this fundamental belief and basic structure, then we go about customizing the accountability chart so it's the right structure for your unique organization. And we're going to do that right now, okay? Is everybody ready? Give me some nods. I want to see at least, yes, I see thumbs. Thank you, Jennifer. You're keeping me alive here. Now, what I want you to do is take out a blank piece of paper and take your best swipe. But before you write, hear me out. When you customize your accountability chart for your organization on this bottom row, okay, start with this bottom row, where I said it starts with the 3 major functions. You want to customize it to suit your unique organization. So sales and marketing will sometimes split into a distinct marketing and sales function. Operations will sometimes split into multiple business units like customer service or delivery or account management, depending on the type of business. Finance will sometimes split out and include HR or IT. Those might be separate, right? It depends on the size of your organization, but you'll have anywhere between 3 to 7 major functions on that front line reporting up to the integrator. And so I don't expect you to get it perfect today, but I want you to play around with this to get your gears turning. So take a shot. Illustrate how many major functions you believe it takes to run your business. What's the right structure? And what I urge and ask when we create an accountability chart for their clients is it's always structure first, people second. Okay, structure first, people second. I want you to name those functions, but not put people into those boxes, and try not to even think about the people that might already be in those boxes or the people that you might have in your organization. We want to define the ideal structure for your unique organization, right? So switch that off. Don't think about your people. They don't work here right now. They don't work here today. Okay, what's the right and best structure to accomplish your vision? Forget about the people right now. We'll reintroduce them again in a couple of minutes. So what's the right structure for your organization? Go ahead and take a shot at that. I'm going to give you a minute again to work on that. And again, if you have any questions about what you should be doing, you should be writing the boxes on this first row, however they break out for your organization. All right. Now, assuming you're done, I need you to put the integrator, the integrator function above that level. Every organization has to have an integrator, and then above that integrator function, put the visionary function above the integrator. When visionaries and integrators work harmoniously together, it creates rocket fuel. We've seen it again and again and again. We've seen it with so many organizations, but for now, you're just going to have to trust me. Now, once you've done that, now that we've defined your unique structure, what you're seeing on screen is just a sample, right? You've done this for yourself, for your business. You know your business better than I do. You've got a basic template. What you've got on your desk is the right functions and the reporting structure for your unique organization. We now need to define the 5 major roles for each function. Again, simple entrepreneurial approach, no job descriptions. Now, for the accountability chart, we just want you to come up with the high-level 5 major roles. What is that person who's ultimately going to sit in that seat going to be accountable for? Right? In this case, we're just going to pick an example. For your head of marketing, and sales, let's pretend this is a 5-person organization and that role is accountable to lead, manage, and hold the sales and marketing team accountable. So LMA stands for lead, manage, and hold accountable. So they've got people reporting to them. So they're leading, they're managing them, and they're accountable for those people's performance. They're also accountable for hitting the sales and revenue goals. They're accountable for selling. So in this case, in the small business, our head of sales and marketing also does some selling. Our head of sales and marketing also does some marketing materials, marketing process, generating leads, right? And they're accountable for account management, making sure accounts are happy and generating revenue, okay? So assuming that makes sense to you, what you need to do is create a true accountability chart. Let's come up with the 5 major roles for every one of your functions, therefore defining all of your seats, okay? So go ahead and jot down the 5 major roles for each of the functions you defined in the last step, remembering that LMA stands for lead, manage, and hold accountable. If a function has seats reporting underneath it, people reporting to it, they have an LMA role. That encompasses things like hiring people, managing them, handling schedules, performance, all the HR stuff that people who manage people do as managers. Okay. I'm going to give you, let's say, 2 minutes to get the 5 roles for each seat jotted down. If anybody has any questions on this or needs clarification, now's the time to ask. Two minutes.
Hey, James, I have a quick question.
Sure.
Is it possible, are you recording this?
I sure am.
Is it possible that I could get you to send me this when we're done?
I was planning to send it to everybody who attended, so I'm way ahead of you, Justin.
Oh, you're awesome, man. Thank you.
I'm also going to have it posted on my website, which, by the way, is jameswisdom.com. If you scroll all the way to the very bottom of the front page, there's a section called resources, and it will have this posted there as well. But as I said, I'll email it to everybody that's on the call.
Oh, great. Thank you.
And by the way, if
The-
you don't like my handwriting on this slide, I apologize. Go ahead, Jose.
This you're not mentioning any KPIs at this moment. Basically, you're just saying at a higher level what they're doing or what they're responsible for.
Well, I think it's assumed that there are, like, for the example, and I know my handwriting is terrible. I apologize for this slide. But if you look under marketing and sales, we've got sales/revenue as the second of their 5 items. The assumption would be that they would have a scorecard, and this is within EOS. This is within the data component of EOS, which we're not really covering today, but it's a good question, which is that the marketing and sales function would be responsible for the sales and revenue measurables that report under it. So for marketing and sales, a lot of times that would be lead generation, might be website traffic, might be closed deals, might be deals in pipeline. There's a bunch of metrics that we would attach to each one of these major roles. But what we're talking about is the people component today. What you're asking about is the data component. And you know what? Maybe I'll do a webinar about that someday.
Thank you.
Good question. All right, we're coming up on 2 minutes. All right. Now, here we go. Now, once you've defined the function, right, marketing and sales in this example, or ops or delivery or finance, you now have a seat. And it's time for us to get the right people in the right seats. That's what I promised in the webinar, right? So we use this tool to put people in seats that what they're great at, what they love to do, and what they can consistently execute on match the 5 roles for each of these seats. But before we can do that, we've got to confirm 3 things in place. It's called GWC. G stands for get it, the W stands for want it, and the C stands for capacity. Get it, want it, and the capacity to do the job. So working backwards, capacity means that seat you're about to put them in, they have the intellect, they have the training and skills, they have the emotional capacity, they have the spiritual capacity, they have the physical capacity to do that job and do that job well. Want it means they genuinely spring out of bed every day wanting to do that job for you. You're not begging them to want it. You're not overpaying them to want it. They genuinely want to do that job. I genuinely want to be an EOS implementer, and I hope you genuinely want to be an entrepreneur, whatever it is that you do. Your people need to genuinely want to come to your workplace and help you be successful. And get it means that the neurons in their brains connect. And we've all met people that don't get it. Get it and capacity are 2 very different things. The best definition I've ever heard of get it is from Ken Robinson, PhD, author of a book called The Element, where he describes it this way. Get it is aptitude or the natural ability for something, an intuitive feel or grasp of what the job is, how it works, and how to do it. You can't measure get it. There are people that get it and there are people that don't. So my greatest example is always finance people and salespeople. They don't get each other, and that's okay. They never will, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But that's the summary of what GWC is. So now you have an accountability chart, which is structure first, people second, you know the right structure for your organization. You know the 5 roles for each seat. We now need you to build that out for the rest of your organization. And with GWC, we're going to take you back to the people analyzer. Okay. So go back to your people analyzer and add 3 things to the top of your accountability at the top. I need you to add gets it, wants it, and capacity. You see the GWC along the top of that slide. The it in GWC is the seat, the 5 roles you just defined. Do they get it? Do they want it? Do they have the capacity to do it? Remember the sales and marketing example? You should be asking yourself if Sally or whoever you have in mind gets it, wants it, and has the capacity for that sales and marketing seat. The people analyzer is a powerful, powerful tool, which is why it's one of the top 5 tools in the EOS process. The bar is a non-negotiable 3 yeses at the bottom for GWC. They must get the job. They must want that job. And they must have the capacity to do that job. A no is a deal killer. Now, if they don't get it, they're never going to get it. If they don't want it, there is nothing you can do to make them want it. Capacity is the only one where there's hope. And I just want to prepare you that there's only a 1 in 1,000 chance that you're going to bridge that gap. And most growing organizations don't have the luxury and the time of waiting 1, 2, 3 years for someone to gain the capacity. They need that seat filled completely right now. So then you use this people analyzer to put the right people, those that match your core values, and GWC the seat into the right seats on your accountability chart. So to recap, you've identified your core values, you're analyzing your people using those core values and GWC with the people analyzer. Now you're going to be able to have intelligent and meaningful conversations about where your people are succeeding and where they're not. You've built out your accountability chart for your entire organization and mapped the 5 roles for each seat. And you're using the people analyzer to put those right people in those seats. Now that gets you to the point where 100% of your people are the right people, people who share your core values in the right seat. You've got to have both. Now, when you use these tools and follow this process, you're going to encounter 2 distinct types of people issues in your organization. Issue number 1 is where you have the right person in the wrong seat. It's someone you love. They fit your culture like a glove. They're just in the wrong seat. They're not in the right job for them. The good news is you have seats in your organization, so maybe you can find them the right seat. If you can't, as tough as it is, I urge my clients, I'm going to urge you to make a change, because if you're a for-profit organization, you can't keep a bunch of people around just because you love them, they fit your culture. The second issue is where you have a wrong person in the right seat. They're great at their job. They're hitting their numbers. They're highly productive, but they don't fit your culture, right? They're chipping away at your culture right now in little ways that you don't even see, damaging relationships, hurting morale, right? Some of you can probably recollect somebody you may have worked with or are working with right now, where those types of folks are great at their job, but they're damaging within the environment, within your business environment. Now, I'm going to urge you, beg you, plead with you to please make a tough change when that's the case, because long-term, they're doing more damage than good to you. They're going to kill your business and you in the long run, right? They're so tough on the business. So don't be too surprised when these 2 issues crop up, and be ready to deal with them in a diligent, determined way. People are the most important aspect of your business. Never forget that. So when these issues make themselves visible, deal with them. Okay, that's the people component. Those are the 2 tools and disciplines we use to help you make sure you get 100% of your people in the right seats. You have to have both. Now, this is a critically important part of the EOS model, a management operating system that maximizes human energy, delivering better results for businesses and more fulfilling lives for the people who run them. Now, I know our time today went fast and your head is probably swimming. That's normal and that's good. That's healthy. It means you're trying. I applaud you for helping and listening today and participating. Jennifer, Jose, Michael, thank you for volunteering. And I think that there was Bob as well. So thank you. Now, I've got a couple of minutes for questions. Who would like to ask any questions? Hit me with anything. Melissa, I see a hand up.
Yeah, I would like I've read Traction, and a lot of my clients are using EOS, so I'm familiar with the concepts and the vernacular and such. With us, we're just such a small company. I'd like to hear your take on how to implement EOS if you're a 5 and under size company.
5 and under company.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually have one client that is an organization that's about the same size as you are. And the way we're doing it is we're following what we call the EOS pure processes. We're following it just like we would follow it for a 250 person organization, right? And what that means, particularly with focus on the people portion of it, you can absolutely establish core values for a 5-person organization. That's pretty straightforward. The accountability chart raises questions, right? Because, oh, we don't have enough heads available to break these out like this, or we don't have a visionary and an integrator that are separate. That's okay. What we do in those situations is if there's one person that needs to sit in more than one seat. Now, what I see with my clients a lot, my smaller clients, is that the visionary oftentimes also sits in the integrator seat. And sometimes the visionary sits also in the sales seat, because in a lot of cases, they're purveyors who have also been selling ever since the very beginning of the organization. And that's okay. So let's just say Bob is sitting in the visionary, the integrator, and the sales seat. Not uncommon at all. We're still defining the future of the organization. And we step back and we say to ourselves, okay, Bob's doing 3 jobs right now. What is Bob's DNA? What is he tuned for? Is he truly at his core a great visionary? And if the answer is yes to that, then we say to ourselves, okay, well, 3, 6, 12 months, 24 months from now, even, we need to find somebody that is the right person for the right seat, for the sales seat. So Bob can let go of the sales seat and focus on his true DNA. Right. And then we say, okay, well, maybe 18 months from now, maybe 26 months from now, however many months, we say, okay, well, now we need to find an integrator. We map that out for the future because we know that this is the right and ideal setup for that organization. And we want to move the people that are sitting in multiple seats out of those seats so they can truly prosper in their key capabilities. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah. Thanks.
Good. Sure. Any other questions? Just that awkward silence moment. Oh, it's Paul. Paul, how can I help you today?
Hey, James, thanks for all this. It's been great. Hey, just a curious question. One of my client companies has 3 core values, and we've used the people analyzer. And is it reasonable in a case where there's only 3, and that's what they've sort of aligned to, that you would either, I mean, is it typical that you might have them on that bar, 2 positives and then a plus minus?
Yeah,
As opposed
totally
to 3
typical.
positives, I guess is what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's up to you guys. So I think
Right.
that if those 3 are like so critical that you say, you know what, they've always got to exhibit those 3. Those 3 are absolutely essential to be successful here, and always is a deal breaker or maker for you guys. Then it should be all pluses, right? If it's the rule of thumb that we work with our clients is, you know what, we want to do a little over 50% with pluses, and the rest will be plus minuses, because we understand that finding the right people can be tough,
Yeah.
especially as you get 5 of those. And we really don't want, frankly, 7 core values. You certainly can't have pluses across all those, because you're not really using them to hire, or you're not actually living those core values, in which case that's a diagnosis for disaster, because you're going to wind up doing wrong with your core values. So I think if those 3 are critical, you could do 3 pluses. But I think that if one of them, there is some flexibility, some wiggle room on, then you should give that one a plus minus.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Sure. Jennifer?
So this is going to be kind of an odd question, but you touched on 30-day cycle for strikes. And with strikes, I came into an EOS system and became the integrator. So I'm learning different things. And with the strike system, does that typically in the EOS system, does that also take for personnel issues? Or is it a different policy typically that you've seen set up that if it's personnel issues, as in like, they've done something and told a client to go fly a kite, something like that isn't really it goes into the values, but it's something more serious. Is that still a strike in the EOS system, or is that something completely different?
Okay, so there's a whole post on this topic that I'm going to direct you to at the end, but I'll give you a little bit of guidance here to hopefully help and hopefully enhance the session for everybody. So the 3 strike rule is not, I'm not an HR consultant. So I think if you have a personnel issue that with HR or legal should be involved, please do so. Don't take my advice over those very capable
yes.
and very well-trained folks. But the guidance is that for the 3-strike rule is you sit down with your employee if they're not a core culture fit, right? So these are people that for whatever reason aren't fitting in with the core culture, the values that you've established for your organization. Excuse me, I should have said core values a couple of times back there. I made a mistake. But is sitting down with them saying, hey, this is the bar. You're not meeting it. And to come into that meeting with 3 really clear examples where they're not meeting that, where they dropped the ball on something, they didn't do things the way they're meant to be done around your organization, whatever that looks like, 3, so that 1, they can shrug off and say, well, that was a one-time deal, right? 2, they can say, well, you know what? It's you caught me on a bad month. 3 is a pretty clear conversation that you're having with that person. Then have that corrective conversation. This is where we need to be. We're going to meet again in a month. And if you have reached the bar, we're in good shape. If you haven't reached the bar, then we're going to do the exact same thing for the next 30 days. And then by the end of the 30 days, if you haven't reached it, then it's time to talk about an exit and take the steps to move that person out of the organization, because they've demonstrated that if they're not changing, then they probably don't get it. They probably don't want it. They probably don't have the capacity to be capable in that role and probably should be moved out of the organization. Does that help at all?
Yes, very much so.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But yeah, and actually, let me pull that up because if you guys hit this QR code or jot down this bit.ly link, this will have it'll have the people analyzer printout. It'll have information about GWC. It'll have information about the 3-strike rule, as well as a couple of other items of content on my website. So thank you so much. We're running out of time. I'm so glad you came today. I hope I brought value. Thanks to Chris and Cogent Connections for helping us today. Chris is an absolute LinkedIn expert. He's phenomenal. Love me some Chris. Definitely connect with Chris as a result of this call today, if you haven't already. And my information's on the slide, and you'll visit my website for the materials. I want to help. So if you've got somebody on your pickleball team, if you've got somebody in your knitting group, if you've got somebody around you, family, friend, peer group member who's struggling and doesn't have a framework, right? They don't know what to do. Their businesses hit the ceiling. Put them in touch with me. I help first, right? I want to actually help folks before I get anything in return. So I'm happy to answer questions with them, help them understand how I can help them understand how to run their business better, right? So put them in touch with me. I'm happy to help them. All right. Thanks so much for coming today. Chris, is there anything that we missed that we should have gone over?
I think you killed it.
Well, thank you very much. And we hit right on time. So you guys have a wonderful day. Have a great week. Rock on with your businesses.
Thanks,
Thank you.
James.
Thank you.
Everyone. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.